What's up guys, and welcome to the very first episode of my FIFA 23 career mode. Yes, the wait is finally over and I am so excited for this project to begin. Now we're going to be starting this career mode with Nottingham Forest, one of the oldest professional football teams in history, as they were founded back in 1865, and this is a club with such a rich history that any English football fan will know a lot about. In the mid to late 1970s, Forest became a real force both domestically and in Europe, winning the old First Division, now known as the Premier League, back in 1978. Then in the following 2 years, won back-to-back European Cups, otherwise known as Champions Leagues, in 1979 and 1980 as well. They've also won 2 FA Cups and 4 League Cups, but since their last major honour being a League Cup in 1990, they've struggled to maintain that image as one of the big teams in English football and had previously been out of the top tier for over 2 decades before their victory in the Championship playoff final last season saw them return to the Premier League for the first time since 1999. To put it plainly, it's been a long wait for Forest to get back in the top tier, but here they are in the Premier League, and I'm so excited for this career mode to begin. Now, it's going to be a real challenge right from the very first season. This will be an RTG, a long-term project. If you think I'll be guiding Forest to back-to-back Champions Leagues in Season 2 and Season 3, think again. It's going to be a long-term project and a real RTG at the City Ground, because this is a Nottingham Forest side that's undergone a major transition in the summer transfer window. They've signed 20 players for the new season, but despite that being the case, they are still one of the lowest rated and ranked teams in the Premier League. They are 4-star with a £30 million transfer budget. It's okay, it's alright, but in the Premier League, it's going to need a little bit more quality, some good young talent, and some real investment if we're to take Forest back to where they once were in the mid to late 1970s. So, as I run you through the team here again, it is a 4-star team. There are some decent young players in this side, though, and again, Forest have added to their team this season in the summer with some good star quality as well. Jesse Lingard, of course, being signed on a free transfer coming in. I'm a big fan of Lewis O'Brien signing from the Terriers as well. But the main man, to watch out for this season will, of course, be Brennan Johnson. Yes, Brennan Johnson, of course, a local lad, born in Nottingham, but now represents Wales on the international stage. He's already got 2 goals this season in the Premier League. There's no doubt about it. Out of the academy, he'll be my main man this season at such a young age as well. The future is very bright for the young Welsh international. Now, several players had their deals that come the end of the year as well, but as you'll see, a lot of these players are players who I'm going to be okay letting go. There's only one player that I've given a contract extension to, that is the academy graduate Ryan Yates, and more on Nottingham Forest's academy in just a moment's time. But Ryan Yates will be staying. You'll see Jack Colback, Cafu, Jesse Lingard, all out of contract. I'll probably make decisions on those guys as the season goes on, but for now, the only player I've given a contract to is Ryan Yates, because quite frankly, we got to get this team better, man. We got to make this team better. We got to improve it going forward, no doubt about that, because at the moment, it's okay, but whilst the board's saying the objectives here, our objective is to finish in mid-table, reach the last 16 in the FA Cup, I'm going to say this to the board right now. You'll be lucky if we finish in 16th or 15th place. To me, just avoiding the bottom 3 is the only thing that matters. So as you look at the on-the-pitch objectives here with Nottingham Forest, you'll see that the board want us to make the City Ground a fortress and lose no more than 6 Premier League games at home this season. Goals, win games as we know, so play attacking football and be in the top 10 for goals. But again, it's results over performances. We've got to keep Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. So yes, we don't want to lose any more than 6 games of Premier League this season. Yes, we want to be in the top 10 for goals, but most crucially, we've got to make sure we keep Forest in the top flight. We don't want to be a one and done team that goes straight back down to the Championship that several teams have been guilty of in the past few years. No, we want to make sure we stay in the Premier League for the first season and beyond as well. But as for the Youth Academy of Forest, now this is going to be a really important part of the club for me. Now we need to hire 3 youth scouts this season and develop a top academy, keep the scouts close to home, look for British and Irish talents, and also 1 youth player has got to turn pro this season and feature regularly Now, there are 3 youth academy graduates in Forest first team right now that are all playing big roles in the first team. Ryan Yates, who we just gave the contract extension to, Joe Worrell, club captain, and of course, we discussed him a moment ago, Brennan Johnson as well. Nottingham Forest have got a fantastic, absolutely fantastic record of producing fantastic academy talent as well. I mean, the list is endless, really. If you go back quite far, you can think of the likes of Viv Anderson, who was the first black player to play for England, Nigel Clough, son of Brian, one of the greatest football managers in British and Irish football history. Sean Dyche, of course, the long-serving Burnley manager before his dismissal last season. Des Walker, Mark Crosley, over 300 games in goal for Nottingham Forest. Going forward, some names you might be more familiar with: Jermaine Janus, England international; Andy Reid; Michael Dawson, of course, as well. But in recent years, Patrick Bamford, making a name for himself, of course, in recent years. Wes Morgan, Leicester City club captain in their famous 2016 Premier League win. Oliver Burke now turning out in the Bundesliga. Jamal Lascelles and Carl Darlow, both in the Magpies, wouldn't be against bringing either of those guys back there, now on the fringes at St James's Park. Chile fan favourite Ben Brereton Diaz, and of course, most recently, Matty Cash, now at Aston Villa and representing Poland on the international stage as well. Very interesting indeed. So yeah, they've got a great history of bringing through academy talent, Nottingham Forest. And so for me, well, you would have seen it there. I've spent most of my initial budget on the youth scouts. I've brought in 2 5-star scouts because the transfer policy this season, as you can see, is to look for build for the future, and we can do that through our own academy. Sell a couple of the deadwood players here, but don't do a complete rebuild, and also don't bring in too many new signings either as well. So in the first season with Forest, in the first transfer window, I'm not going to make major changes to this side in terms of transfers. Yes, I'll sell a couple of deadwood players because this is a really thick squad, man. This squad's got over 40 players in it. It's thicker than Megan Thee Stallion. We don't need over 40 players. We are not playing in Europe right now, so we got to sell a few of the players that are fringe players here. Harry Arter, for example, who last season spent a brief loan spell playing in the National League with local rivals Notts County. Definitely going to let him go. Cafu as well. There are a couple of players I'm definitely going to sell with Nottingham Forest in the first season, but I'm not going to do a major rebuild in the very first season because it wouldn't be realistic. With Nottingham Forest, I also want to make sure this career mode, at least in the very first 2 seasons, is very, very realistic as well. So don't expect me to sign wonder kids, Pedri, Gavi, Ansu Fati. They won't be lining up at the City Ground. If we are going to make some signings, I want them to be reasonably realistic, and also sales as well. I'm not gonna sell players that have just signed it. You saw a bit a moment ago there coming for Koyate. He's literally just signed. He's not going to leave in like 2 weeks' time. So of course we'll be keeping the players that have just signed for the very first season, such as the likes of, again, Sergio Aurier, Koyate, and so on and so forth as well. We did sell Lyle Taylor though. He went to Anderlecht for just shy of £1 million. So again, I will sell a couple of players because we need to thin the squad out a little bit. It is too thick right now. A lot of deadwood players here collecting paychecks, which quite frankly, they probably don't justify now that we're in the top tier. But as for new signings, we're not in the Forest. Obviously signed 2 youth scouts there, 2 5-star youth scouts. We kept them close to home. England, Scotland and Wales are where our 3 scouts are going this year. And as for our transfer shortlist, well, you see it right here. I am going to look for primarily Football League and Premier League players as well. Not look too far abroad with Nottingham Forest as our recruitment. Will expand as the seasons go by, but in the very first season, want to stick to British and Irish players, and also just players that have played in the Football League or in the Premier League as well. And with the side as well being so thick, so much quality and depth here as well, we don't need to bring in too many players like in our transfer policy. I only really want to sign 1, 2, maybe 3 players at most in the very first season, but I do want a new right back going forward. Now, I briefly touched on a moment ago there, Sergio Aurier has come in this season, but at 29 years old, the Ivorian's long-term future is definitely not guaranteed here at the City Ground. Nico Williams has just come in from Liverpool. I have to say, I was a big fan of him last season on loan at Fulham. Now here in Nottingham Forest to replace Jed Spence, who of course departed to Spurs after his loan spell from Middlesbrough. And Jayden Bogle, to me at Sheffield United, I thought would be a really, really good choice. Now, there are 2 names I was thinking about. Jerry Nakia at Watford but also Jayden Bogle from Blades as well. Now, of course, he came through the Derby County Academy, rivals of Sheffield United, of course, but since moving on from the Rams, he came to the Blades, had a brief stint in the Premier League, but since their relegation down to the Championship, Forest, of course, beat Sheffield United in the playoff semi-finals last season. If Jayden Bogle really wants to kick on his career, he needs to get back into the top flight, and he can do so here at Nottingham Forest. We agreed a £5.5 million deal plus Cafu, and I really like that as well, because you would have seen it a moment ago there, Sander Berger, who was one of my targets, moved on to Stade Rennais, so Sheffield United be in the market for a defensive mid. Well, they can take one of mine. They're going to take Cafu off our hands. We'll take Jayden Bogle for 5.5 mil plus the Portuguese midfielder. And how cool was this? Yes, new animations for the new FIFA career mode. This looks so cool. I'm way too busy for a quick chat with Jayden Bogle, quick introduction, and I'm off to do my business. But we see Bogle doing his medical here. I thought this was really cool, and I'm presenting the shirt at the training ground for the media to see as well. That'll be on the club website in about an hour's time. Announce Bogle, the fans will be shouting on Twitter, well, we've just done it. So yeah, Jayden Bogle is in, my first signing at the City Ground, but I thought this was ridiculous, man. Now, as you can see, for the new year, one of the new features for career mode is transfer ratings. You get graded between A and F for your transfers. I got graded an F for my sale of Lyle Taylor because I could have made £20,000 more. £20,000. We're in the Premier League, guys. We don't need to worry about £20,000. That's pocket change, if that. £20,000 more I could have possibly got for Lyle Taylor, and that sees a transfer graded as an F. Yeah, I think this could be worked on a little bit more from EA, I would say. The fact we're not going to lose him for free is better than nothing, I would say, and we're getting his salary off the books, but the Bogle deal was graded as a C, and he's apparently not good enough, despite being 73 rated and 2 ratings higher than our starting right back, Nico Williams. He's 21 years old, he shows great potential, he's an English lad as well, which of course a lot of Premier League clubs look for these days. You know, the English player tax is so common nowadays, and yet it's graded as a C, and my sale of Lyle Taylor was graded as an F. Yeah, the transfer grading could be a cool little mini feature, but I think it needs a little bit of work. I think it's a little bit too harsh for the time being. But Bogle is indeed in. Again, 21 years old, shows great potential. I need to get his defensive stats up though. You know, of course, Forest play a 5-3-2. We'll stick with the 5-3-2 and not in the Forest City ground as well. I like to play the same way the club do in real life. So we'll stay with the 5-3-2. But I think Nico Williams will stay as my starting right back. I'm a big fan of the kid. I think he's got a really bright future. Of course, signing from Liverpool on a permanent deal in the summer. Bogle is the same age and a couple of ratings higher, but I think I'll continue to start Nico Williams with Jayden Bogle coming off the bench. For Sergio Aurier, I mean, no doubt about it, he's the highest rated right back here, but with Forest, we want to prioritise the youth. We want to maximise that potential and throw the kids into the first team. We've got better, more experienced players on the bench and in the reserves, but for me, I want to prioritise the young talent here at Nottingham Forest. They've got a great reputation of developing players either through their academy or just young talents that they've signed. I want to continue that trend at the City ground, prioritise youth over experience and look for the younger players with good potential to develop for the future, maximise their potential and give them enough chances to succeed. And speaking of which, well, you would have seen a moment ago there we sent our youth scouts out to Scotland, Wales, and of course staying local in the Nottingham region in England as well. We got our first decent player picked up in our academy. Only 1 month of scouting, so of course that can see his ranges decrease as time goes on. But Rodri Brown, young Welsh left wing back, could he be the next Gareth Bale? Well, the shooting stat right now being quite low, I'd probably say no. But 75 stamina, 71 sprint speed. Need to get the acceleration up, no doubt about that. But at 5'8", 17 years old, with 78 to 94 potential, first player in our academy. Keep your eyes on this young wing-back. Going to put him on the wing-back development plan as well. Get the reasonably low defensive stats up, but most crucially, the attacking work rate from medium to high. Yes, no doubt about it. I want to prioritise young talent here at the City ground. I want a great academy with Nottingham Forest. Continue the trend we've seen in real life as well. So Yeah, Brown joins our academy. And speaking of transfers, well, a moment ago there I talked about realism. We don't want to sell players that have just signed for Nottingham Forest this season because it would be unrealistic. I also want to make sure the sale destinations are quite realistic as well. Harry Arter there wanted by 3 European sides. You know, Basel and Zurich, I wouldn't say beyond the realms of possibility, but for Harry Arter, I think it would be better to try and sell him to an English club. So for now, he'll stay here. I don't want to sell him to like a Polish team. It'll be very, very unrealistic. I want to make sure we sell our players to what you call realistic destinations. So for now, Harry Arter will stay here. But for our first game with Nottingham Forest at the City Ground, taking on last year's domestic cup double winners, Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp's side. You could say they've possibly had a struggling start to begin the Premier League despite their record-equaling win over Bournemouth in the Premier League 9-0 earlier. But heading into the season, they drew the opening day 2-2 away against the newly promoted side in Fulham. So heading into the game, first one at the City Ground, I was thinking, right, let's go at them. Let's go at Jurgen Klopp's team. We want to make the City Ground a fortress this season, lose no more than 6 Premier League games all season long. A really tough beginning to the campaign. At home to Liverpool, away at Chelsea, and then a relegation 6-pointer against the Cherries as well. I want a strong, fearless start from Nottingham Forest. And I couldn't have asked for a better beginning. Remember the name because he's going places. Brennan Johnson, local lad from Nottingham, now representing Wales on the international stage, makes it 1-0 and scores our first goal back in the top flight in the 21st century. But the lead did not last long. New signing for Liverpool this season, in from Benfica, Darwin Núñez, the Uruguayan forward, scoring his first of the season on the opening day, just like he does here at the City Ground. He really was the star in the first half as well. I was struggling to keep him quiet. It was still 1-1 at the break, but really, it could have been 2-1, 2-2, 3-2. It was such an action-packed first half, and it continued in the second half as well. He had a golden chance to restore the lead 9 minutes after the restart. What a big block by Virgil van Dijk, preventing Johnson, bagging his brace and restoring our lead. Still 1-1, but a third goal in the game was coming. The question was, who was going to get the second for their team? In the end, it was Mo Salah for Liverpool. Yep, quick little slip ball through by Fabinho after McKenna was dispossessed, and the Egyptian king makes it 2-1, and Liverpool are in front for the first time in the game. Half an hour to go, we're still down by a goal and on the brink of losing on the opening day at home to Liverpool. I did not want to have a loss to my name at the City Ground in our first of the season, and with 6 minutes on the clock, wouldn't you just know it, Renan Lodi on loan for Atletico Madrid storms down the left, rolls it into the middle, and who's there to turn in from 6 yards out? Jesse Lingard signed a 1-year deal on a free transfer in the summer. Big signing for Forest, playing for a long-term contract and playing to keep Premier League football at the City Ground. 6 minutes on the clock, and the former Red Devil scores the equaliser in a 2-2 draw, and I will take it. I will take it. First game of the season, 2-2 draw against Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. Darwin Núñez scoring in a 2-2 draw away from home against a newly promoted side on the opening game of the Premier League. Yep, who said FIFA's not realistic? So a 2-2 draw on the opening day, I'll take that against Liverpool, and that's a decent start for Nottingham Forest. But that will end today's episode of Career Mode, guys. So a big thank you for watching the first episode to Save. Really hope you have enjoyed it. If you like, much love to you all. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for the next episode. We're still over £20 million in our transfer budget, and more signings to come very soon.